Hello, and welcome to the July 2025 episode of Low Code Campfire. This is episode number 204, and since the topic last week was low code high performance, I've just added and said more low code high performance. So hopefully we can get into some of that today, plus whatever it is that you want to get into. This is an event that we do every Friday, or most Fridays anyway, 10 a.m. Central Time, where we talk about all things Plant and App, the things that are coming, the things that you're struggling with. It's open to everyone. All skill levels are welcome. We record all of them and put them out on YouTube. Yes, we did start at episode number one, and most of the episodes are out there. So we're 204 hours into some very good content from our community. We do this same, normally, this is our normal agenda. We say hello and then go around the campfire with anything that you've submitted in advance or want to talk about first. And then I have some topics that I'll bring up as well. And then after an hour or so, we go into our afterglow segment. That's where we turn off the recording, raise a virtual adult beverage, and begin to enjoy our weekend a little bit. So do engage with us in any of those areas. You can submit questions and topics in advance. Use this QR code, or you can email to support@plantandapp.com. We'll get that. And if you submit something in advance, I do a little research and hopefully have some information for you by the time we get together. And with that, I will say hello, all.
Hello, hello.
Good morning.
I know we're going to be down one today. Patrick has said that he is off enjoying a long and well-deserved vacation, so uh, that'll be good for him. We'll look forward to hearing about that. So first call, somebody got something they want to talk about or ask about first? If it's all quiet, I have plenty of stuff to go on to, but I'll just want to leave space.
Hey, Dale. Dennis is
Yes.
trying to talk, I think.
Uh,
Dennis, your microphone was turned off.
Yeah, I see it go on and off, but I don't hear you.
Might be a device issue. Sometimes I know for me, I do something and then all of a sudden it's picking up from a different microphone that I'm not plugged into.
I was just doing some testing because my wife and I are gonna start doing some podcasting, and I was wondering what would be the best approach. And I think what we're gonna do is we're gonna Zoom the podcasts, and sometimes we'll have guests, so that'll be easy mechanism. But we were looking at what the best mic and the best camera is. And I set up my iPhone as a remote mic and webcam, and it worked really well. Then I have an old condenser mic that I do some voiceover work with and wanted to use that, but I typically use a different setup than plugging it directly into my computer. And then I had to go get a phantom power supply and had various pieces of equipment to make it work, and even a professional grade condenser mic was not as good a quality as the Apple iPhone. I was quite impressed. So we're just going to go with the iPhone as the webcam of choice to do our podcasts.
Interesting. Um, and that I'll just throw out there that, as you know, we do some post-processing on our Logo Campfire, Logo Cafe for things like timing marks and summaries and whatnot. And so if I can be of any value to share any of how we do it, I'd be happy to do that.
Great, thank you.
Okay. Dennis, jump in when you do get your technical uh, issues done. I, we'll come back to you anytime you're ready. Anyone else? All right, I'm just going to start down my list. We'll jump in when it's time. Um, so I'm just going to mention low-code high performance. We're putting together a webinar, a low-code cafe on Wednesday, this next Wednesday. And I think there's going to be some good techniques that you can adopt to try to make your pages, your site, your um, workflows more performant. I'm sure we're not going to cover everything in an hour, so there'll be there'll be more topics after that, and I'm going to touch on a couple of them today. Um, because there are definitely things that I won't get into in the hour that we'll have on Wednesday. So one of our clients had asked a question about text box with autocomplete, so I hope to demonstrate that today. It's not a hard technique, but it is important and can be. And yeah, I have some Campfire things that I put out as well, some contributions. So we'll get to that in a minute. I'd like to give you an update on our Kanban board, and I don't think that I think the list of things that you see here that are done is the same list that was last week, so we haven't moved anything into done since then. But I see calendar view localization. That was something that was in progress or in development last week and is QA ready, which means we have several people in our QA department that will spend some time testing it out, see if it does anything. If they like it, then they turn it over to user acceptance, which is I'm part of that team, so whether I do it or someone else, but we give it two sets of eyes, everything that comes out of development. And so this would be the case where you've got a calendar and you want to show days of the week or months, the year months, the months in different languages. So that'll be a nice addition. And then on the ready group, the things that are kind of on deck. Let's see, there's a new thing. Which one is it? Oh, yeah. I don't know if anybody has ever used this, but there's any of you have used it, but there's a mode of listings where you can say lock into edit mode. And so as soon as people get to that listing, the listing is already in edit mode and you can make changes and then hit save and it will allow you to save all the changes kind of in bulk. It's a pretty cool mode. But at some point, probably at Bootstrap 5, but where at whatever point it's not giving you the values as tokens so that you can make the updates that you need to make when you save. So um, kind of broken, and so we're putting that and adding that to the Kanban mix. Yeah, a few more welcome later joiners. Um, so yeah, Campfire contributions. Let's take a look at that. I've added a couple of things in there, and this is partly due to my research for. Well, yeah, it's probably entirely due to my research for um, the low code high performance episode. But um, uh, there's a whole we've been kind of talking about this at different times. The and there's a whole big long overview here of so you can hit the checkbox and see what's going on with this. But understanding what's in cache and how big it is and when to use it and things like that, and just understanding what's in there. So I wanted to kind of put some stress on, and so this tool lets me create a key of some length. In this case, it's set to 100. If I wanted a shorter key, I could create a shorter key. This isn't a very sophisticated technique to build this up, this key, but just having a key. And then when you I'm going to use the show cache summary button that shows that currently there's nothing in cache. If I put 10 things in cache and create them, we now see that there's 10 items, and um, the estimate is about 2 times the size of the key. So 10 times 100 times 2 gives us 10 items in cache and 2,000 bytes. We can create a lot of these, and part of this would be just to be able to monitor what things get created, how long they're lasting, how big your cache is, because as far as I know, cache is in memory, and so this would be a way to measure what the drain on your server might be. Um, so in addition to show cache summary, there's this show cache details, and it's showing you this is the cache key for each item and how big each item is. And down here at the bottom, there's a total of those. There's also the underlying token here. Um, whoops, I created more. I meant to say show cache summary. Um, This token, by the way, this cache token that I'm creating, each one is set to last for 60 seconds. So over time, as I hit the show cache summary, you'll see the count go down, and then at some point it'll go back to 0 after a minute of inactivity. So it also illustrates that cache comes and goes kind of automatically. Anyway, there's some underlying tokens in this that they're Razor tokens that are letting us examine what's in cache. And so in addition to being able to see the key of the token, there's also the ability to see the content of it, um, which I haven't turned on here, but it's just a true false value. So if you wanted to hunt down the value of a particular token, you could see what's in cache using this technique. Um, So cache finally went to 0 here. I'm going to go back to creating, let's see, I'm going to create, um, just going to click this button 2 or 3 times so that we can, yeah, we'll do 3 times. And so we'll have 3 different things in cache. There's also this show cache summary JSON. So a different token that returns JSON. So if you programmatically wanted to monitor what's in cache and how big is cache, you could use that. I'm just going to emphasize too, total size is an estimate. GPT told me that it's about twice the size of this, but I don't really, I have no way of knowing that for certain. So just realize it's an estimate of what's in cache. And then the show details JSON will show you all the keys that are there. So again, if you wanted to programmatically go through and do things with cache. Um, so I've been prattling on. Any thoughts about cache?
Yeah, I have a question.
Yep.
Um, I might have missed this, but the create data to cache, how are you actually doing that?
Okay. Yeah, no, I didn't really talk about the technical behind it. I was just talking about doing it. So we can take a look here. Um, Probably let's take a look at the underlying stuff here a little bit. So all of this is being done through tokens. And so I have a cache tools namespace, and we have this stuff here. So um, anytime that you, in my case, I'm using this token cache 60 seconds, and this is really pretty much purely for demonstration purposes. But the idea is that if you have a token and you have this cache value turned on, then anytime you access the token, it's going to um, compute, it'll do whatever the token is. In this case, I'm just doing a constant token definition of whatever the value is, but it does it and then it caches it. So the first time it does the work, the second time it puts it in cache, and that's um, the whole value of turning on cache. It's much faster. It doesn't have to do the work for the duration of the cache time, right? So just running a token, doing this will end up putting things in cache. So I did those two things and created two items. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does make sense. One of the things of interest for me is, can you expose and monitor session values?
This is a great question. Let's explore. So if we, uh, I haven't done it. I think the answer is yes, but let's find out. So we have this cache 60 seconds. I'm going to create a clone of it and call it same thing. It's going to just take the value, but in my cache, I'm going to choose user session, right? So and I'm just going to run this same thing several times. I click many times. And so if I look at my cache summary, this must be looking at a global cache because it's not recording. So it wouldn't surprise me if there is a way to do that. But my Razor token must be looking at global cache. So short answer is my token isn't doing it. So the token that I'm using to show cache is this one. It's a Razor token. So we're getting a couple of variables. We're looking at runtime cache. It looks like they might be stored. I don't know where they're stored, so I don't have the immediate answer on how to accomplish that.
No worries. It's not a trick question at all, but it's one that I've not been able to find an answer to. Where I am going with this, obviously, is the session values themselves, but also thinking about logging out people based on inactivity, for example.
Yep. I'm going to create some more cache items here of a short size because I wanted to illustrate this show cache, I told you that we have the ability to get values out of them. And so we're seeing the token key and then the value and the size. So if you turn on show details true, show values true, this is the one here. If it's false, you don't get the value column. True, you do. So you can use this to explore the values that are there as well. It's possible to clear a cache item. As a matter of fact, we have an action that you can clear a cache key. So if you know the key of something that you want to get rid of, there's an action to actually clear it. Showcase JSON is the same thing, except you can get the values back. I'm going to have to create some more, I'm sure. Let's do that. So if I run that, we can see all of our cache items here, and it's in JSON, so you could walk through and see the keys and the values. So hopefully that'll let you explore a little bit or give you inspiration to go find the other values. They are cached. I just don't know where they're cached. Any other questions on caching before we move on? Cool. So that was cache tools. I have another contribution that's very, very similar called cookie tools. And so this puts data in your cookies, and we can see it right at work here in let's see, cookies. So we see our cookies here. So cookies exist on the browser. If we want a cookie size of 10 and we want to create 10 cookies, we can see all of a sudden that they all appear here, whatever the value is that we gave to them. It's a nice interactive way to see cookies. Cookies exist by default, when we create them, looks like they create them for a month. What is it? Well, 28. Yeah, it looks like a little bit more than a month. We create them by default. Um, so I had to provide a way to get rid of them. So there's a remove test cookies button that gets rid of all of them. So if you're interested in how do I delete a cookie, you can examine remove test cookies. So this one was kind of interesting to me. I thought I could um, trying to understand kind of what the practical limit and the implications of cookies are. And so, first of all, practical limit, when you start creating very long cookies and large numbers of them, even 100 uh, cookies, that you can, your browser starts to, my browser quit performing. So it's possible to create more cookies or um, than is practical, right? So these should be cookies typically are keys to things that are stored elsewhere or very small bits of information. If you start to try and use cookies as storage, you're going to run into trouble. So keeping 3 or 5 or 10 values that are relative to the client session that helps you navigate around is great. Creating 100 things with 1,000 long is going to break things. But in the same way, there's being able to see the count and the size, or the retrieve the content of the cookies um, in bulk, and being able to parse through them. That could be useful, right? You're trying to oftentimes you're setting a cookie and then wanting to retrieve it. What's my user preference on some functionality? Um, so you know to retrieve the preference um, cookie. But if you're trying to find out, did I leave some extra cookies around, or what cookies are here, then being able to show the cookie details, what's present and how many of them there are, could be useful. Questions on cookies? Oh, I forgot to get into the other main finding, and that is if you follow along in your browser console and you've created cookies, I mean, unsurprisingly, cookies are transmitted with every um, button click, right? That's part of that's the functionality. It's submitting the form that includes the cookies, and if you dig into the network tab and look at the submits, you'll see the cookies transferring. And so this is another downside. If you're building an application that has, you're trying to store a lot of cookies, a lot of data in cookies, and maybe running on a slow internet connection, it might become noticeable, it might become a performance issue. So just be aware of that. All right. So those are a couple of tools that are out there to look at.
Those are very nice, Dale. Very nice projects for us to look at.
Yeah, well, you can use them as is and then just to see them on Campfire. But the simplicity, I mean, just the pattern is that you'll find them. Where did I do it? In configuration, there is in the tokens, there's the cache tools namespace and the cookie tools namespace. So you could just grab these couple of tokens and use them to read through what's available on your system. So should be a good launching point.
Yeah, it's excellent, actually. Thank you very much.
Absolutely. So yeah, back to our regular scheduled programming. So that's some Campfire tools. I had a client that was asking me about the check PDF signature action that he saw in the actions, and I didn't know we had such an action. So I looked it up, and turns out that it's something that we've added recently. So I added it to the documentation. So this is you can load a PDF, and it'll tell you whether or not there's a signature stored in it, uh, according to whatever the protocol of PDF signature mechanism is, and it just gives a true false. So,
Dale, can you hear me now?
hey, welcome.
Ah, okay. I found the problem. It was a nut behind the keyboard.
Yes, Pebcac. All right. So quickly, we'll wrap up on documentation, then go to you, Dennis. Um, so that's the only documentation topic I added. Is there anybody that might see a possible use for seeing if a PDF is signed? Well, it's here. I think it's an add-on product, but it's available. Okay. So Dennis, we're on first call. Do you have one?
I do not. I was initially just trying to say hi to everyone because I've been gone for about a month,
Yes.
working on a big project, as you know, Dale.
It's amazing how that happens. Well, welcome.
Exactly.
All right, then in which case I will move on. And there, uh, we some of these have been hanging around for a while, but I thought it was worth a mention. We had these different things on the community forum, and so trying to just touch on a few of these and see if there's anything to pick at. Somebody asked a question about the best practice for handling conditional logic in multi-step workflows. And I think we've talked about this before and done some on, yes, I know we have here for best practices, but um, Bogdan saw it and answered it and talked a little bit about it. But I think it's a, I think it's a good point. Making things smaller and testable is better than making one mammoth workflow. Anyone with experience either way? Eight. We have this one, which was from Jerry, who couldn't figure out about um, in Popup, that odd configuration of in Popup uh, in an action form shows a message that you can click on, and then things open up. The that item opens in Popup. So
I have a question about that.
yes, well, let's get into
Okay,
it.
so in pop-up versus manual, um, behaviorally, what is do you know off the top of your head what the difference is? Particularly, I'm wondering about what loads when. And this question is both for forms and for listings. So if I have a form set in Popup, of course, I've got the message somewhere to start that, click it and open it. If it's manual, it's not displayed until some other thing calls it, button or whatever. So in the case on a page load, do you know whether or not the form gets loaded in either of those cases, or or is it different behavior
I'm almost certain it gets loaded immediately. It's initialized, so it does the work.
in both cases?
Either manual or yes, yeah.
Okay.
I think if it's on the page, it's going to get forms just get initialized.
So then the form gets initialized. That would then mean that the on-page load events run,
Yes,
and also the on-init events load and run.
I would say yes.
Okay. So other than calling the method in which you call that there's no fundamental difference.
Um, so this one, and I'm hopefully I can illustrate. The in pop-up was a very early. See here, it says click here to change the. Um, so let's prove some things here really quick. First of all, it works. So this was kind of this very early pop-up functionality that we had, I think, before all the actions even that did that. Um, and the idea was to let people very easily. Um, let's find where that setting is. Click here to change was, and now this is the hunt. Oh, here it is. Here, this is the weird place that this exists. Edit template. Click here to change is the um, is where this content is. But let's validate whether or not it loads the form immediately. So we go to our events, and on page load, we'll have a log error. Nope, not log error. I want log event. So we'll get something in the log when the page loads, and then we'll copy this and do on pre-init, and we'll do it on init too, just for across the board.
If you're going to do that, you're doing this for pop-up, might you want to add the nomenclature pop-up? So if you're looking at if you're going to do manual, you'll know which is which.
Sure. You're going farther than I was going to go, but you're a curious guy, so.
Oh, well, you don't have to on my behalf. It's just trying to think ahead for you.
All right, so we have all those. We also need to look at configuration in the logs, and we have none of that so far, no alerts. So here we go. I'm going to refresh the form for the first time, not click anything, and refresh the log. So we are getting the page load events. So that's, and I'm just going to refresh it again just to make sure we didn't miss anything. So it does page load, but the initialization appears to be deferred. So now I'm going to hit click here to change, and then we'll go back and look at the logs. And now we get the pre-init and on-init. This is neither here nor there, but just pointing out the imprecision of log entries, that we know that pre-init runs before on-init, but they're out of order here. It's because there's not much precision in the way that this sorts. So don't get sucked into trying to use the event log to know the exact order of when things executed. Anyway, so does that help your case?
Yes. So what you've concluded is that when the page itself loads, the page load in it kicks into action.
The on-page load event, yes.
Okay, so that kind of makes sense.
Yes.
Okay. But until you click something, when did the on pre-init?
On pre-init and on init both ran when we clicked the link here. So
Okay.
so now I think it's worth exploring your other question, right? So if we were to add another form here on the page, we'll set this up real quickly. And we'll configure it as a manual form. We'll put in some events. Let's find that event here, that one. And so this is page loaded manual. And we will copy that. And we have our different events. And we also need to add a button here on the form to get that to happen. So we will open the other form with an action of open form pop-up and stop, selecting the My Manual form. And so we have this reinitialize button. So this is interesting. We'll leave this alone for now. And we won't pick any other actions. So here we go. We look at the logs and note where we are in the logs. Nothing, we've got a module updated, but that's it. So kind of a clean slate. We go back, which will load the page. I'm a manual for, well, I didn't configure it very well. Settings, Why didn't you stop me? Where's Patrick when I need him? That's manual. All right. So try again. The form. Oh, yeah. I did the wrong one. So got to configure the right form. All right, so this is what we were trying for. We have a click here to change, which would open the primary form, and then we have no manual form. If we look in the logs, we see the most recent. We only care about these two. We got page load events for both, but no init or pre-init. If I click here to change, we should have just the two new events, which we do, the pop-up ones. And now I'm not really sure. I didn't. Let's see if we can open a pop-up from a pop-up. Yep, it did. Not very pretty, but it works. So the inits and pre-inits are all delayed. So answer to question. They're not, they don't happen until the form loads.
So in both cases, the on-page load actions fire.
Yes.
And in both cases, when you activate them via some click, both the pre-init and the init fire.
Yes.
Okay. Very good. Thank you.
Let's see if these it doesn't really explain here what happens in pop-up, but
So as an aside, Dale,
yeah.
you have a pop-up that opened a pop-up.
Yes.
There's a limit, I think you're at the limit now, of number of pop-ups you can have open at one time and have things still function.
Yeah.
But if you programmatically like open the other form, if the first thing it does is closes the pop-up that's visible,
Yes.
you can keep going almost ad infinitum. And then when you want, like I've got that type of action. I open a pop-up which opens another pop-up, but before I do, I close the previous one. Then I have a back button. I eliminate any other navigation. I have a back button, which then reopens the previous pop-up. So
Yep.
just
So if you really want a pop-up experience, you can
pop it like corn.
So this would be close form pop-up and continue on myself. And do that first.
Yeah.
So
I would have thought that it wouldn't do the next action because the form's closed.
Well, I used the JavaScript, so it may not, I'm not sure it'll be 100% identical. No.
did it.
Now, if you have like a back button there, you can reopen that previous pop-up and make it look like that's what you intended.
Yeah. Nice. All right. So we're all learning stuff today.
So Matt, you said that you're referencing that the pop-up you're closing the current pop-up, but in Dale's settings, what I saw was he had to pick what that pop-up up, so you don't really know, or is there a current pop-up method somewhere?
No, what the pop-ups have
JavaScript
IDs. Yeah. And
no.
I was using JavaScript, not the actions. And yeah, there you go. Open pop-up by ID. So if you know, you've got to know where your breadcrumbs are, so to speak, and note them, open them, note them, then either close or open them depending upon where you are in your process.
Okay, so you could create a token that's current pop-up ID, previous pop-up ID, and navigate around between them.
Or a session variable pop-up stack. So you could push an ID onto it and pull one off if you
Mhm.
really had a really complex scenario.
Yeah, in my case, I think it was like three, maybe four layers deep. And all I did was, with the action there, open pop-up ID 5123, I just fired that off or the next one in the process to either open or close. And again, I had a structured back button, which then in my case closed the pop-up I was on and then opened the pop-up that I came from. So I closed the child and opened the parent in that case. Does that make sense?
It does. Where's Patrick when we need him?
You're starting to understand my refrain. Okay. So it's very quick, and I would think, okay, also have to, let's see if it works. So here we got that, hello world, other form. Now we got a back button, and now you could have a back button here so that all looks the same. Turn off, there's these navigation things to turn off so that you can keep, because if I do this and click here, it's not going to open. That could be a behavior you want to
Mm-hmm.
versus if you want to go back, but that's interesting. And then that initialize form, you can control whether or not the form has a value. So okay, it's all interesting. Let's add a text box here. Um, yeah, that doesn't work. Thanks, Mark, for pointing that out. We're working on that. So we add a text box that we can have here. So we do this. No, we need to refresh. So we do this, we have a text box, ABC, open the other form, and then go back, and it retains the value because we didn't reinitialize the form, right? We have this option here that says reinitialize form. So if we initialized it, then we get this other behavior. So looks like without the reinitialize, it's all just cosmetic. The form is shown or hidden, and you're able to alternate between them. And so now I guess the question is when you pop back to those, when you go back, does the what events fire? Right. So I'm gonna not reinitialize the form so that we're in the mode where we can retain our values. So we click here to change, open the other form. I'm going to stop right there and look at the logs so we know where we are. So the last thing happened at 34 seconds. The manual form got initialized. So now we hit back, and we're back to this other form. Did anything run? And the answer is no. Once the form is initialized, it's initialized. So your other events didn't run. It's just a show hide thing that's going on. Very interesting.
Yeah, the technique also works quite well with Well, I mix both listings and forms depending on, what I need. So I'm popping up a listing from a form, going back to the form and so on. Seems to work quite nicely.
I could see that being very powerful to like build a transaction of something that and then you finally go back to the original form and hit a post button to save something.
Yep.
And yes, I suspect the connected forms feature would still work with all that, with all those forms on the page, right? So you should be able um, to do that. So
The other thing you could do, Jim, would be to use the on-change click to call the API and have the API pick up the text box values and write them once something happens. So you could be saving an intermediate state as you go.
Right. And I like the fact that as we went from the first pop up to the second and then back to the first maintained the values that it got from the second. And it's like that I would not have expected. So.
Mhm.
all right. I was just going to comment too that I've done, and I think we've seen it before, where you have a multi-step form, what you were talking about, a multi-step entry done in a tab, and you advance through the tabs. But um, some use cases that might not be good, like um, if you want people to do things in a very prescribed order, you can't really control what tabs, or it's harder to control what tabs they can switch to at any given time. With the pop-ups, you're under full control what shows when. So that's interesting. All right. So that was all about Jerry's question. There was one about compatibility with DNN10, which um, we haven't done any testing with. As far as I know, we're not doing DNN10 yet. So there's that. And then this actual question was about action form only, standalone action form, and that those, to my knowledge, we're not pulling it, but if it ever stops working, then that's the point. We'll pull it as a separate product. Anyone, any experience with DNN10 yet?
Nope, I'm staying in the swim lane.
I
Mark asked.
loaded it. I loaded 10 yesterday on a new site I'm starting to work on. And I see some really unique and weird changes, but I haven't really put it through its paces yet.
Will keep us posted.
We'll
I remembered this as a question from Mark that PayPal versus Stripe. Mark, did you have any update on what you did with all this information, or if you need any more?
Not update that's helpful, but my story is I am going to attempt to implement Stripe today.
Uh-huh.
Haven't gotten that far to say that I have accomplished it yet, but I haven't tried until today.
I don't know if I. Yep, I did.
Yeah.
I did comment that we do have one working on Campfire, or at least minimally working, and when we talked about it, we and then internally, I mean, we use when you guys pay your bill, if you're set up for billing, it's Stripe, so we're using it internally.
Are you doing server requests? You don't have an actual, what do you call it, action
Action. I
for dealing with
think we
Stripe,
do
right?
have Stripe actions. I'm trying
Oh,
to.
okay.
Um,
I wish you guys would implement the Offnet hosted payment form into your Offnet product because by law and per the merchant accounts that our clients use, they have to be PCI compliant and not store any credit card information on the server, but we also have to be able to use Offnet's client information manager to rebill them each month for their subscription services.
um, yeah, I don't think that there's anything planned, any attention planned for Offnet, but sponsor development is always an option if it's worth it to get it done. I suspect that would be approved if you wanted to buy
Yeah,
it.
we have done it. We're doing it now, uh, like in
By
action
server.
form.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, in action form, we have to obviously take their payment, and so Jerry has written something. I can't remember exactly how he's doing it, but he is calling the hosted payment form and creating their CIM account over in Offnet so that we can do the subscription billing each month.
So this one I wanted to point out as my favorite one because you got Jerry jumping in and saying, "Man, I will help you." And as a support guy, I just love to see that community helping each other. So thanks for doing that, all of you that participate in those. All right, I think I'm going to do a teaser just to see if you guys want to talk about it on another day. Not really time to get into it today, but I was working on a site that was trying to send that was has the queue pattern implemented to send emails, and I had a thing that was checking to see if an email needed to be sent and built. Actually, it was building them and replacing things and finally sending them. And I got a note from Bogdan saying, "Could you check to see why this server is using so much CPU?" And it turned out that the automation that was running, which was running once a minute, I think, was doing a SQL query that was pretty intense to see if there was anything to do. And there was most of the time nothing to do. And then it would do it again the next minute and the next minute. So we're just, it is just adding a load to the server that didn't need to be there. So I did a in conjunction with all this cache work that I've been doing, caching, I made uh, made tokens that would allow you to raise an event, check to see if the event has been raised, and check to see if the event has been handled. It's really just doing it through a cached token, but the idea is that any any process anywhere on the server could raise the event, and that the automation can then, instead of running a SQL query to say, is there something to do, it can run every minute and look at a cached token, which returns incredibly quickly. And if there's nothing to do, the job just shuts down. So now this job is continuing to run every minute, but it takes uh, it, it takes a fraction of the time. It has no load or virtually no load on the CPU. And then when it finds something to do, then it goes into the same work that it's been doing. So it's basically a way to make a job be idle. And yet, as soon as it gets turned on, it goes to work until it decides that the event gets solved, and then it says that the event got handled and goes back into idle mode. So I'm throwing that out as would that be a value to look at for anybody, or is that esoteric?
I would take some value from that. I can tell you you might use this information in what you're putting together, but I have a record in a table that just gets toggled. A field gets toggled, is there something to do? Yes or no? And so all I have to do is look up that one record in that one field. And I would be curious to see if what you're doing is faster, better.
Yep. That's actually an interesting proposition, right? So over the course of, let's say you're doing it once a minute, then over the course of an hour, you're running 60 very simple SQL queries versus um, I'm using the cache mechanism. So the question really is, which is faster? And the thing that we're going to talk about one of the things that we're going to talk about, main topic for Wednesday, is a method for um, being able to test that, to do 1,000 iterations of something and see how long it took to run. And so hopefully we'll answer that question on Wednesday. I'd be very happy to do that.
This sounds good.
Yeah, so maybe we'll see which mechanism is better, and then promote that as a pattern going forward. All right, I'm going to do last calls. Anybody have anything that you want on the recorded session before I wrap? Well, we've managed to fill our hour here at the Low Code Campfire. Glad that you joined us, or that you're watching it in replay. We do this most Fridays, and so hopefully we'll see you next Friday. Have a good weekend, y'all. Hang around for Afterglow if you're inclined.
Thanks, Dale.
Thank you.
Thanks, Dale.
Bye.
Yep. Bye.